Now, what's really important here, and I think the most exciting part, is that we'll be doing a live build that you can join. So if you go to this URL here at the bottom of the screen, you can download the project files and start your own app. Yeah, that's a really cool feature here. So we will be going through it a little bit faster than than usual. So if you're new to Mendix, then maybe it's better to check that out afterwards. All right, let's get on to the use case.
Yeah, sorry, I just saw a question come in. The Mendix version is 8.10.2 for anyone who wants to know.
Right.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Ryan, nice to meet you. So basically, I've been working from home a lot lately and caught myself slacking off and becoming a bit of a couch potato. So I called up some friends and said I wanted to get back in shape. So that's when we decided we were going to build an app so we could share our runs and we could compete for like a leaderboard trophy, you know, bragging rights. So here's what we want the app to do. So we need to have a mobile app that uses native mobile functionality. We want to use GPS data, we want to use the camera, and we want to use the local storage. We want to be able to start and stop runs and invite friends to the app. And we need to compete in a leaderboard, like I said, for bragging rights. We want to add photos to the runs, and the app just needs to look good and feel good. And we need to talk about syncing the data so it's stored safely in the cloud. We have a little preview over here of what the app is going to look like if you stick with us till the end. So whoever hasn't downloaded the files, you can do so now. There's a link there. Yeah, let's get started.
Excellent. Time for the most important part.
Yeah.
Let's build.
So I'm just sharing my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep, you're good to go.
All right, just 1 second. So to prepare for this webinar, I've created a Mendix app called FitFast. We'll just go into the environments tab. So this is the Mendix developer portal, which is available at home.mendix.com. So here you can really see your team, your stories, what you guys are working on, what sprints is active right now, all that kind of stuff. So let's just open the app. So normally you would do it from here, edit app, click the arrow, and then you can choose to edit in Studio or Mendix Studio Pro. I've already got my app.
Sorry, Ryan, just checking. Are you recording?
Yes, I am recording.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I already have my app open here. So when you guys download it and open it up, you can come to the domain model.
Yeah, so Mendix Studio is perfect for building out the user flow, making basic page designs, and the overall navigation structure of your app. And what we're going to do is take it a step further and add some more advanced features using Mendix Studio Pro that you can download and install on your computer. Now, of course, if you do start a project in Studio Pro, you can seamlessly transfer that over. If you do create something in Mendix Studio, you can transfer that over into Studio Pro and continue working on that.
Yeah, so we're going to start with the first feature right now. So starting at the domain model, I already have some entities in that created. So there's 3 main ones. So we have run images, and location. This is mostly for tracking the run data, like distance, when it started and ended, the status of the run, which is not busy, done, the duration, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sorry, I was just looking at the chat because I will share a link to the project files in a moment. So about this domain model, the domain model is really a representation of what's in your database. And so every time you store something or you want to retrieve data, you use the domain model for that. And Mendix will take care of the underlying database. So you don't have to worry about primary keys, optimizing queries, and so on.
Yeah, exactly. So looking at this object over here, the account holder entity, this is basically where we store the user stats, like the total distance they've run, total friends, and yeah, total runs. It's also a generalization of system.image, which basically means it can hold pictures. In our case, we're going to use it to store profile pictures.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's create the run page so we can start and stop runs and track our time and our distance.
Yeah, so we're going to start here on the home native page, which just has a tab container over here. So we have overview, runs, and friends. So we're starting from the overview section where we already have a carousel with just some images. And we also have a data view here that just shows the details of your most recent run. So we're going to add in the middle here. And we could add the elements one by one, but to save time for the webinar, I've created some building blocks. So we're going to start off with dragging start run homepage onto this area over here. So a building block is just a collection of widgets. You can pre-style them. They're data agnostic. So if you have a button on it, it will remove the NanoFlow. But it really just saves time. It's reusable code. Think of it like a component. So here we have an image and we have a button, start run. We're going to create a NanoFlow for that. So we're going to select and unclick NanoFlow. Click in the run folder, and we're just going to call it ACT create new run. ACT stands for action. It's a naming convention. So go to the NanoFlow. So first thing you always do is to allow the users access to this NanoFlow using module roles. So we want to allow for admin and for user. So the first action we're going to create is just a create object. And we're going to create the run entity. We can commit this because it's using the local database. Don't need to worry about that. And then we're going to link this to the account object using an association. And we also need just a run ID, which we're just using account full name. And then we're adding a underscore. And we're going to just do a random number and multiply that by 1,000 to get a random number between 1 and 1,000. So it's going to be their full name and a long number.
Yeah, and we'll be reusing that as well later on to retrieve this specific run.
Yeah. So after that, we can just add a show page action. And we're going to pass the run object, and we need to then just select the page. We don't have one, so we're going to say new. The page name is already filled in, run new edit, that's fine. We are using the native mobile profile and we have a navigation layout selected. You do have to just select your type of page.
Yeah, and Paul is actually asking a really good question. Why are we using a NanoFlow instead of a MicroFlow? Now, in Mendix, logic is captured in either MicroFlows or NanoFlows. So when you're building a normal app, you simply use MicroFlows. But in this case, because we're building a native mobile app, we're using NanoFlows because NanoFlows are pieces of logic that run on the device itself. So they're offline pieces of logic, and they don't need a connection to an application server, for example, as opposed to MicroFlows that do need an active connection to an app server.
So we have the page here. So we're just going to drag some more building blocks on. So we have a stats building block, and this is going to show the duration, distance, and speed. So these are just done using labels inside containers with a bit of styling. All we need to do here is connect our attributes to the labels. So duration, we'll get duration, and so on. Do that quickly.
Yeah, so while you're filling that in, someone's asking, what is the difference between the two? So a MicroFlow, a normal MicroFlow needs an active connection to an active database server, but a NanoFlow does not. So that's a huge difference. So you can use NanoFlows for offline capabilities in your app. Next to that, because a NanoFlow can run locally on your device, it can also access device capabilities like your camera, a GPS tracker, and things like that. So it offers different capabilities for different scenarios, really.
Yeah. So we finished with the first building block. So now we just added another one, start and stop time. So pretty simple, start time, get start time. and end time gets end time.
Yeah, what you see here is a little text block, and it has a parameter. Now you could just add normal text in a block that's static, like embed and started, or you can show a dynamic piece of content, a piece of data that's related to a user that you pull from the database in that.
Yeah, exactly. So now we have most of our elements on the page, and we've just added some buttons. It's the building block run page buttons. So these are just the buttons we're going to connect our NanoFlows for recording the GPS data and viewing the map. So before we do that, let's just spend some time making sure they are the correct visibility. So we're going to do that by applying conditional visibility. And we can just go to visibility in the properties. We're going to hide this conditionally based on an attribute value on the status of the run. So start will show for not started, and yeah, so start will show when it's busy, and so on. Let's do that. And the view map is only going to show when it is done. And also this label, we just want to only show when, sorry, we want to show when it is done.
Yeah, this is really handy. So you can use this to clean up your UI a bit. So you don't necessarily want to have a stop button when you haven't actually started a run. So using conditional visibility, you can configure that.
Yeah. So now we're just connecting our NanoFlows to the buttons. So we're just going to do start run and end run. They're pre-built flows. And then this view on map is just a on-click page, and we're just going to select run map view, and that just shows the location data in the map.
Excellent. What do you think? Is it time to show the app, or shall we build some extra stuff?
Let's build the photos first. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah. So another requirement that we had for the app was that we want to be able to take pictures during a run and show that for the run.
Yeah. So to do that, we're just going to create a floating action button. It's a add-on widget with native mobile. So this is just like a regular button. It just looks a bit cooler and has a bit of a circular shape. So we're going to select an icon of camera. And we're going to select an on-click event to call the NanoFlow. So for this, we're going to build the flow. You can just put it in run, and we're going to call it ACT, again, action, capture run image. Very simple naming convention.
Awesome. So yeah, when we added the start and stop buttons, what Ryan actually did was use a JavaScript action. Are you going to use one again in this NanoFlow?
In the capture run image, we have a standard pre-built capture photo JavaScript action, which is built by the R&D team in Mendix.
Excellent. So just out of the box, we can add that capability. We don't have to develop anything ourselves. Cool.
Don't have to do anything, just call the action. So all we do is we call a create object to create our run image. Got to link that to the run object via association. Then we immediately can call our take picture action. Sorry about this.
Yeah.
We just call take picture. And so here it just opens up the properties. So we just need to provide it with our new run image entity and select the source for the picture. So you have the choices of empty, camera, your library, or either. We're going to set either. And the picture quality, we're going to set to original. There are two fields here for when you choose a custom picture quality. We don't need to specify anything for them, but we do need to set them to empty. Otherwise, it's just going to have an error.
Excellent. Yeah, and so JavaScript actions are reusable actions based on JavaScript that run on the client, like the NanoFlows. And yeah, they allow you to use capabilities such as HTML5 browser functions, Cordova PhoneGap plugins, and React modules. So this allows us to take the pictures.
So we do need to set a display field on the run itself, which is just has images true. So this will just show the images when they have them. And then we're just going to commit our objects. Sorry, committed the wrong one here. And then we're going to call this pre-prepared flow, which just checks if we have connection and then syncs the data. I'll go in so you can see it. It just checks if we have connections. These are native JavaScript actions. And then it synchronizes everything if it's true.
Yeah, so again, those are pre-built, right? Those check connection things.
Yeah. So I'll just let this run so long, and then we can talk about the JavaScript behind this. This dialog just needs to go away. I have some errors. So what is...
I'm going to guess it is access.
Access, right? Yeah, most common error.
Yeah, it's always to keep in mind that when you build a NanoFlow or a MicroFlow, you need to give permission to at least one user role to actually execute that, that type of document. Otherwise, it's going to be locked and no one will be able to use it.
Yeah, so just before we compile, I did forget to put the images on the page. So we have a run page images building block. Just drag that out so it looks a bit better. So this is just a native carousel like we have on the home page, and it just has a image viewer inside. And then there's a shoe icon for when there's no images. So we're going to apply some conditional visibility to this, just on that has images false. And then the carousel should show when we have images equal true. Can do that in here.
Just a reminder, so if you're using the chat, at the bottom you can select who you're sending your messages to. So either just us or also all the other attendees.
So we need to choose the database, data source for the carousel. I'm just doing it via database, and we're going to select the run object. Oops, sorry, no, run images is what I meant to say, via association. And we're going to put a sort order on it for created date and sorted descending, so we always have the most recent one. And that's it for the carousel. We just need to connect the image viewer to the run image entity.
Yeah, so you can just drag and drop that from the connector pane. Also, very good questions in the chat. We will get to them. Either, yeah, if something pops up now or when we get to the Q&A, we'll go through them.
Yeah. So while that's busy building, I'll talk you guys through the JavaScript behind it. So we have two actions. We have start tracker and stop tracker. So it's basically one to stop the recording of the location and one to stop it. So start has a few parameters. All of these settings here under category, that means it's for battery life and sort of power consumption. The more your stationary radius is, the more power it's going to use. Beside that, we have a URL, which is meant to be the app's URL. So in this case, it's my local host, and a run ID, which we created earlier. So if we look at the code, so firstly, disclaimer, I didn't write this code. This is a library I found on GitHub. It's at @Maron85, React Native Background Geolocation.
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Yeah, of course. I don't know how to
if it allows you to to do that.
I don't know if I can zoom in this editor, but
okay.
If anyone needs to look, you have the project files, you can open it up. So these are just my parameters and some imports. We have essentially a constructor which configures the background geolocation using our parameters. So you can see here the URL is using our URL, which we pass in, and the run ID is being set to run ID. And then we simply just call geolocation.start. And similarly to end stop doesn't have any parameters, and we just call geolocation.start.
Yeah, yeah. What's really important here is to note that while Mendix is very visual, we are not a no-code platform. We are a low-code platform. So this offers the ability to extend your applications with your own custom code or code that you found online. And yeah, next to JavaScript actions that are built into the platform, you can also create your own JavaScript actions. And of course, that's why we have the Mendix App Store, right? So a lot of extensibility is possible.
So the app is just busy loading on my device. So we should have said this in the beginning, but you guys need to test using the APK we put in the download files. It's basically a special adaptation of the Make It Native app with some special plugins just to make the geolocation work.
Yeah, so, and the Make It Native app is an app that you can download from the app stores. It's a Mendix app that allows you to test, like locally test your applications.
So we're just letting it load the data. There's some data in the database. So the first time it's run, it's going to synchronize all of that stuff.
Yeah. Now, before we continue, I have a question for everyone. Oh, there we go. Is it loading?
That was me.
Okay. Oh, you're doing it in. Okay. So I have a question, and the question is, I will put it on your screen right now. Are you using native mobile? Now, we have a very mixed audience here today. So I'd love to know, you're not using it yet, but you like to. Yes, we are actually using it in production apps, or only for testing it, or maybe there is an answer that's not on this list. If so, let us know in the chat, and we'd love to know what you think. Good, lots of questions coming in. So, ooh, interesting. I'll share the results in a little bit.
Okay, so your app's loaded. So here we have a login screen. We're just going to log in quickly. So straight away, it's going to take us to the landing page. You can see there's the carousel on the home page. Sorry. Nice swiping features. We have the run page, we have the friends page, and then we have the start run, which we created now. So let's hit that button. Oh man, the buttons aren't showing, but that's okay. We'll get them back later. And you can see here's the run page with our labels. Nothing is started yet. And we can just then, let's test the camera out. So let's take a photo. Just out my window. That is okay.
Yeah, nice park around your house, huh?
Yeah, it's on the third story. So that just sometimes happens when the phone is trying to sync. There it's syncing.
There we go.
So that
nice.
error was just because my Wi-Fi dropped, and so there the image has uploaded. So
excellent. I'm just going to end the poll to see and share the results so everyone can see that. So here we go. So most people are not using native mobile yet, but they'd like to. A lot of people don't know enough about it yet, so good thing we're doing the webinar. And a lot of people are testing it. Now, I do like seeing that there are people who are using this in production apps as well. So yeah, love to get some examples if you guys have some.
So now that we're done with that, why don't you say, why don't we build the run page? Yeah? The friends page, sorry. So on the home page here, we already have 3 tabs, overview, run, friends. So at the bottom, we have a bottom sheet widget. This will drag up from the bottom with some labels just to show our friends and the accounts which we're linked to. So this is great.
But what if our friends haven't registered on the app yet?
Yeah.
How can I invite people?
So we're going to build that out now. So we're just going to add another floating action button. And we're going to select the icon user and create, select an on-click NanoFlow. And we have this one pre-built. So this one is called go to friend search. So, okay, if I just go to the friend page, it takes you to this account view page. So you can see here, this is a search page where you can search accounts already added on the app. And basically the way this is going to work is if there's no results, it's going to show this block at the bottom. And if there is results in the local app, it's going to show it at the top. So we're going to build out when they're not in the system. So to start off, we're going to add the friends building block magic link into this container. So can't find who you're looking for, send them a magic link. Drag email invites onto the text box. This is just a string for them to enter their email or whoever we're going to invite. And then we have a button that doesn't have a NanoFlow. So we're just going to select and unclick NanoFlow. And we call this one link, send link, ACT send link.
A magic invite link.
Yeah. So going in, this is a very simple flow. This is also a native JavaScript action that comes with the native mobile quick starter. And it just drafts an email on your local default email app on your phone. So we're setting the recipient address to email invites, CC and BCC is empty. We have just a subject, which is join me on 5th pass, and we have a body. And the body is pretty much just so we can give them this link. And you can embed any link in there. This is just for my local environment. And then we just show a message invite sent. So we'll show you guys that in a bit, but we're going to carry on for the moment.
Yeah, so that's, I think that's great. Now, what I would also love to see is that leaderboard, that sweet, sweet leaderboard.
Look at this. Yeah, so we have the leaderboard area here. We're going to put it under friends. So we're going to turn this page into the leaderboard. And to do that, we need to start by adding the leaderboard leaderboard header. So this is just some nice images for a leaderboard and to show your total distance compared to everyone else. So connect your total distance field to the one that the label that's expecting a parameter. Just follow the association to account holder total distance.
I like that you're using kilometers. Yay, metric system.
In South Africa, it's the only way. So after that, we're just going to add a, so I'm going to add a list view to the page. And we're going to select data source as a NanoFlow. And we have a ranking NanoFlow called DS ranking order leaderboard. DS stands for data source. Any NanoFlow or MicroFlow which populates a grid should be named DS. We're not going to take you through that flow because it's just ordering them. But what we're going to do is build out the rest of this. So here on the account item leaderboard building block, we can just drag that in. And this is going to be our account display. So connect your account holder entity to the image viewer and connect your missing parameters. So the first one is going to be full name. We just need to follow that to account.
Yeah, it's one level down, so the search doesn't pick it up.
And again, we're going to show the total distance because this is the leaderboard. And then we have some nice images here. So this is for first, second, and third, respectively. In this NanoFlow, we assign the accounts an order for where they're going to sit in the list. So we're going to just hide these conditionally based on the order field. And to do that, we can just go to Properties, Visibility. And we're going to base this on an expression. So the current object is referring to the account holder entity. So we're going to say current object / order. So, yeah, and equals 1. So just copy that out And we're going to paste it and adapt it on the second two. So again.
Yeah, so what that means right here is it will look at which one was retrieved first. And we know that that is the right person to be ranked number one because it's ordered based on longest distance. So that's going to be the first record, second person is going to be number two, and so on.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it for the leaderboard. We do want to have an overview page of the runs, right?
Yeah, exactly. I also, of course, want to see like which ones have I done, and how far I ran. So yeah, if you can build that, that'd be cool.
So over here we have the runs tab, which is completely empty, nothing on it. And we're just going to start off with a list view. And the list view is going to be populated just from the database for run. And we're going to add a constraint, the sort order, sorry. Don't automatically fill. Sort order must be start time descending. So your most recent runs will be at the top.
Right.
And then we just provided the run item homepage building block. So if we drag this in, got a few things in here. So we have a data view for the image, and we're just going to populate this with a NanoFlow called get last run image, or ds_get last run image. This is pretty self-explanatory. It just gets the most recent image for that run. Again, we need to connect the run image entity to the image viewer. Don't automatically fill. And then we have some details here in a container. So first off, connect your attributes. So the last run, we're going to put start time, which is a date and time. Let's put a custom mapping on that, right? So we're just going to do day, uppercase N, month, uppercase Y, year. And then we're just going to do lowercase h for hours and lowercase n for minutes. Copy this, because we're going to put it on the finished at parameter. So finished at is going to be the end time. And put the same date on that. And finally, the duration, which is a time string which we display. Duration. Cool, but this is just going to show all of them the same color, right? And I don't think that's what we want.
Yeah, so the cool thing is what we can do is give the list items a different color based on the run distance. So for example, if you run a 10K, it'll be a different color than when you run a 5K, for example. And again, the way to do that is by using an expression with conditional visibility.
Yeah, so I have this expression pre-built because I always struggle with greater than, less than. So pasting it in, I'll talk you through it. Oh, sorry, 1 second, didn't copy.
So copy and paste, the good old developer 101.
Yeah. So this is just checking on the distance field that the run is greater than 0 and less than 5. And we can say okay to that. And this has a CSS class, card text box pink. So straight off, copy this, paste it twice, not the entire block. Copy this div or container, and we're going to paste it twice.
It's funny, someone just asked, are you using a lot of shortcuts or to navigate so fast? But yeah, I think Ryan has practiced this so much that he's clicking through it very quickly.
yeah, I'll slow down for you guys. But you always need to know Control-C, Control-V, guys. It's going to save your life. So the first thing we need to do is on the copied ones, we're just going to change the distance filters to be between 5 and an upper limit of 10. And this bottom one is basically going to be just for 10. So we're just going to take that out and put 10 there. Next, we just need to change our CSS classes And we're just going to change the bottom two. So pink will be blue for 5 to 10. And the bottom one is going to be the best for 15. So we're going to make that gold. So card, text box, gold.
Nice. So these classes are classes that we've created ourselves for this webinar. So when this part's done, we'll take a look at what that custom styling looks like.
So just stop that and rerun. So let's go into the styling. I have an error first, sorry. The error is...
I'm going to say access. Yep.
New edit.
Yeah, so right now what we've been doing is using some built-in classes and something that we've pre-prepared. And there's a little button in the top right that says Show Styles. If you click on that, it's enabled now. You can see the little CSS tags on each of the elements. So that means that on those elements, we've used custom classes, basically. But yeah, we have prepared a style sheet for this before the webinar. It's in the package when you download it. And yeah, Ryan's going to show that.
Yes, so this was prepared for us by a designer in our team. I didn't create this. Not that good at styling. So basically, he's created a few classes for us, which we've applied. And here you can see the 3 classes which we just applied. So we have pink, blue, and gold. These simply just get a background color and container. So this file is called custom.js. You can find it in your theme folder inside of the project directory. And if you just go into native, there'll be a folder called native app styling or themes or something like that. I'll find it for you at the end.
Yeah, can you show that?
Yeah, so if we just go to the project and say project show project directory in Explorer, it'll be in here, theme, styles, native, JS, and then we have a folder app, and it's there, custom.js. That's the folder, the file that we're showing you. So the app is run. Let's just take a look. Let me open it up. Casting disconnected. Restart that.
Yeah, so we're using a little app called Airserver to duplicate the phone screen. But it's running, I think it's running in trial mode. And yeah, you know, sometimes it decides to say, hey, you've been sharing long enough, I'm going to close. So in that case, we just need to restart it.
So here it is. Again, just logging in. Spell my name right.
Password, what's your password? Oh, now I know your password, dude.
Very secure, very secure. So here we have our run page, the run overview. You can see the different colors that we have there, and you can see the distance. Oh, sorry, the CSS is applying the colors, and you can see our friend leaderboard, which is over here. So Lars Tennyson is in the lead, followed by Jan, and then myself with some other guys in the Mendix team.
I need to up my game to catch up on Lars.
Yeah, he's too fit, man. And we can show you the invite process. So I'm just going to search for Jan because we know he's in the system. So that's the search. Going back, if we type in some random strings, it's going to say no results. I'll just use my email address and send. So you can see the drafted email it created. I'm just going to open up this link. And basically, this is just a phone browser profile page. And this is just for them to sign up. And when they're done, they can then completely download the app installer.
Yeah.
We go back. That's just because I canceled the draft action. So let's check the run button again. Oh, buttons are still not there. They'll be in the project files. Sorry, guys. And yeah, so that's most of the app.
Yeah, so I think an important part here is also now that we've finished the app, even though some elements aren't showing yet, so we can debug that a little bit. It's probably to do with conditional visibility or empty empty objects. But I think what's important here is also how we sync data back to the app server, because right now we're running everything locally, and in a native mobile app, by default, everything is stored in the local database. So yeah, let's take a look at how we can actually sync the data with our online server.
So the syncing process is pretty straightforward. So we have a app event here in the layout, and this is just a default widget. It's just going to synchronize when the page loads, when the page is reopened. It has some timer actions as well. So that's going to continually synchronize the data, but we need to think about how we want the data to sync, right? So under navigation, I can close everything. We have our device profiles. So responsive is basically for form, any sort of free-form browser. Then we have phone browser, which can also be sort of lumped in with tablet browsers. So these are online browsers which you can access through your device's browser. And then we have our native mobile profile. And on that profile, we have sync configuration. If we open this up, make that bigger for you guys. So each entity in your project, you can now specify, do I want to download this to the device or not? So for some entities like account and account holder, we need those for the search and the homepage images. We want everyone to have these objects, right? But the runs are specific to the user, and the run images as well as the location. So we filtered by XPath. XPath is just a querying language, basically. And we filtered them to the account owner. So we follow the run association into account, and we say the account for this run needs to be the ID of the current user. Basically, it needs to be for the logged in guy. And we do this for all of location, run, and run images.
Perfect. Yeah. So that gives you a lot of control on which data you synchronize and what you don't, because that's really important for mobile apps as well, is that you don't use too much data. So yeah, these options really allow you to do this. So yeah, we do have a lot of questions coming in, and we'll get to them very soon. Can we use this as an offline app? Yes, this is an offline app. So by default, a native mobile app is an offline app that is built that way and architectured that way. And so when you do want to use online capabilities, you have to make a connection with a server specifically and get information in. And so now that everything is done, we get to the deployment options. Now, up to now, we've run everything locally because we've been testing, and it's quick to do that. But once we're done, we got to figure out where we want to deploy this, and this is really where it pays off to be a cloud native platform. So not only can we deploy an app on any cloud and run it in any environment, you can scale it up effortlessly to match your work, your app, your growth of your business, and so on. So, if we're lucky, for example, let's say our FitFast app onboards 1 million users next month, then I can be sure that the infrastructure can take care of that without the need to make big changes to the app itself.
Yeah, so it's actually really easy to pick your cloud provider. So you can just go to the environments page under home.mendix, and you can select your provider. Once you've selected it, you need to configure your login details. Actually, let me just share my screen so I can show you guys. So here in the modeler, we can then configure the run on Cloud Foundry settings, and this is for your live environment. And once that's configured, you literally just hit this run icon, which is with a cloud icon, and that will run and deploy the app in your selected cloud. You are going to need a Mendix license if you want to use a third-party app, a third-party cloud provider, sorry. And that is basically going to allow you to host almost anywhere, really.
Yeah, basically anywhere. So you're not restricted to Microsoft or AWS. Basically any provider that allows, that has a Kubernetes capabilities, that's where you can host your application. So yeah, all right. So this rounds up the live build part, and we can now go to the Q&A. But before we do that, I want to ask another question, and that is, what app do you want us to build next? So I've enabled the poll, so you should see it on your screen. I hope you're going to see it on your screen. Yeah. So do you want to see how we style a native mobile app? Do you want us to build something completely different, a rideshare app like Uber or Lyft or Lime, or maybe a food ordering app like Uber Eats, Foodora, Just Eat? And just to give an example of what we can do either with native mobile or other platform capabilities. And of course, if you have other ideas for topics, be sure to let us know either in the chat or in the survey afterwards. So we'd love to know what you think about the webinar and how we can improve that as well. All right, so while everyone is voting, I am going to enlarge the Q&A window. Let me see, sorry, the chat window, because I would like to see what everyone is talking about and all the questions everyone's asking. So please give me a moment. Wow, there are so many questions. Let's see. So just to reiterate, we are recording everything. So we will be posting this online afterwards, so you can share that with other people as well. So you're good. If you want to follow along and build this yourself, you can do so and play it at your own pace using the recording. So let's see. What's the difference between MicroFlow and NanoFlow? We've had that one. Is the Mendix native mobile app built on top of JavaScript? So Ryan.
So yes and no. So it's actually a combination of JavaScript and a library called React. So this basically is, React is a transpiler. It basically converts your React code into JavaScript. So essentially, yes, it is all running on JavaScript.
All right. What is the best time to do a sync activity?
So the sync activity should generally be done after a critical thing, like for us, we did it after the images or when we created some new data. But it really depends. So you can have sync as a timer event that synchronizes every few seconds, or you could do it in a MicroFlow with the action. And basically it's what feels best to you guys. It's do you think this needs to be available on the server immediately, or is it okay to leave it for a few minutes or hours or whatever, and then just synchronize when they manually select synchronize? That's also an option. You can have a manual synchronize activity.
Right. How are you dealing with permissions on operating system level? So for example, once you install this on an iOS or Android device.
So inside the React Native library, which we used for geolocation from Mauron, there's actually pre-built stuff. And when you call geolocation.start, it opens up your permissions if you haven't given the app permissions already. So it should just automatically work. On my phone, I've done it already, so I can't show you the pop-up. But yeah, when you guys test it out, you should see it.
Perfect. Yeah, so can you connect this to a heartbeat monitor, for example? The simple answer is yes. You can basically connect anything to a Mendix app. So as long as it has an interface or an API, you can connect that with Mendix. We do have a lot of out-of-the-box integrations already in Studio Pro, or you can download extra integrations from the Mendix App Store. Or if you're feeling adventurous, you can build your own integrations. And consuming a REST service is a very simple process in Mendix as well. So it's mostly visual. You just have to put in the settings and you can consume a service. So yeah, a heartbeat monitor, for example, is something that could be done here.
Yeah, you could also check out, there are some resources on using NFC functionality. That's actually one of the how-to reference guides available for us. So it teaches you how to access the NFC of your app, which would most likely be used to connect to a heart monitor or something like that.
Right, so going back to code, does this have TypeScript support, or does Mendix have TypeScript support?
100% yes. Yes, so the JavaScript actions and the pluggable widgets, they all support TypeScript. And it's basically any version of JavaScript is compatible with the native mobile side of things. You do need to consider your permissions, your imports and that sort of thing. But yeah, anything you want can basically be adapted.
Yeah. So taking a step to testing, if you want to test a Mendix app, what do you do? And how do you test that on your phone?
So normally we have the Make a Native app, which is available in the Play Store. The geolocation side of things here required us to create a clone of that in order to add some specific permissions and imports, also some dependencies. But when you bundle your app into a production APK, there's resources online. When you do that process, then you can add your permissions there and your dependencies there, and it will all work as natural.
Perfect. So someone's asking, I would like to know how you link the forgot password module to the app in case the user forgets the username and password.
So we didn't do that in this one. We just sort of created a manual override for forgot password. There is a module. And if you just read through that documentation on the module, it should do everything you want it to. I think there might also be a implementation of the OAuth module, which you could check out.
Perfect. Yeah. So let's see. We have 5 minutes left. Let's see if we have any detailed questions. Oh, there are so many questions. Guys, there's so many good questions.
Let me share my screen because I fixed those buttons. So while we're waiting for the next question, I can give you guys a little preview.
So what was going on with the buttons?
It was just a user rights.
Yeah,
I forgot to do that. Sorry, my casting has stopped. Let me restart it.
By the way, if anyone has any suggestions for a good phone screen clone app, this would be a good time to share it with us, because Airserver is great, but it's a bit dodgy sometimes.
Yeah. So you guys can see here the buttons are showing. So if we click start, you can see there in the notifications, you get a little notification saying it is tracking you. I can lock the screen, shake it about. It's picking up the movements. And when I open it again, you can see there it's synchronized as it opened, and you can see the labels updated. So we're going very slow and we didn't move very far, but it's been 12, 18 seconds. So if we hit stop, it's going to open up the map. So it looks like craziness, but when you zoom out, you realize this is about a meter apart. It's my little house, that's me, and you can keep zooming as far as you want. And this has the Google Maps functionality, so if you just double tap, it will zoom in again. And yeah, that's that, guys.
Excellent. Yeah, that looks super, super cool. So there's a couple more questions here. We're going to see if we can go through some of these quickly. So Paul is saying, I see that the design mode of the page editor is grayed out. Does that mean that that feature doesn't yet work for native mobile pages? That's correct. So for normal pages, you can use the design mode to get a view of what it looks like sort of a WYSIWYG view. but for native mobile pages, that's not being activated yet, but it will be in the future. Yeah. Are scheduled events available on native mobile?
Yes, so it's slightly different. We have these app events. So it essentially is calling this on the device every few seconds. So you can have a few different options. You can call a NanoFlow here. You can synchronize. You can do a whole bunch of stuff. And you can configure things for when it connects online, when it goes offline, how often you want it to synchronize just by itself. And then there's also some styling things, but that's not really relevant because you don't see this widget really. And you can also have so we have a scheduled event running, which collects the runs from our run tracker. And then it basically does some processing on that to create a JSON string, which we map onto our map. So we create that on the server, and then the synchronization pulls the data into the device. So there's no calculation on the device. And then we just show that map in the page, basically. So yes, scheduled events, definitely yes.
Perfect, yeah. So someone's asking, hey, am I right in saying that the APK doesn't work on iOS? So in the download file, there's an APK, so.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's not going to work on iOS. We can provide an iOS one. We just need some time to do that. We can send it out after this, maybe. If anyone wants, connect with us on the Slack community channel, and we'll send you the file. Yeah.
Good. So I like this question from Samir. I usually prefer building the front end from the browser, so and then come to a Pro IDE like Mendix Studio Pro to do the backend. Do you have a recommendation for this approach or how to do this with Mendix?
So I know that most front-end guys like to use the inspect elements, and then they do styling inside of the inspect element field, and then they copy that over to their IDE. So on native mobile, you can't really see the device in a browser. It's not going to work because it's offline, right? So the best way I have found is just to test the classes on a online page, and you can copy the classes off onto the native mobile. That's one of the best ways I've found. And also with the Make It Native app, every time you rerun, it hot reloads. So you don't need to completely rerun every time just to see styling. It will be really quick, and the styling will reflect almost instantly.
Perfect. We're going to do one more short question because we're at time. Don't worry, we'll go through the questions, all of them, and try and get you an answer still, even if we don't talk about this in the webinar right now. You're not forgotten, so don't worry about that. Let's see, let's pick one. How much battery will it use if you sync as a scheduled event every 10 seconds, or does it depend on the data?
So I've been testing pretty hardcore, and my phone battery doesn't really drain so much, but I did create the actual production version of the app. And when I tested that, I went for like a 5K and used about like 10% of my battery power.
Right. That's not bad, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it took me like half an hour. I'm not that fast.
All right. With that, I want to round up the webinar. I want to thank everyone for joining. Please fill out the survey so that we can see what you think of the webinar and give us ideas to improve this, maybe other topics and so on. And if you want to continue the conversation, join us on the community Slack. So go to bit.ly/Mendix community Slack and create an account for free. We've already got 1,500 developers on there. So join us there. Thank you all for joining, and see you at the next webinar.
Thanks, everyone.